Taekwondo inamaanisha vitu nyingi sana katika maisha yangu. Taekwondo imenifanya niwe na discipline nyingine ya juu. Taekwondo ni kama talenti yangu ya kipato changu cha mkate wangu wa kila siku.
Taekwondo is all about discipline, respecting one another, helping one another, things like that.
My passion for Taekwondo is that I'm longing for the Olympics Games in Rio de Janeiro, and still I'm looking forward for the World Championship.
Dixon Waweru, Milka Akinyi, and Mary Wanjiru Muro are Kenyan Taekwondo athletes. Each of these passionate athletes harbors a dream to win an Olympic gold medal in Taekwondo. Taekwondo is a form of martial arts from Korea that became a full medal sport at the 2002 Olympics in Sydney, Australia. Tai means to strike or break with foot. Kwon means to strike or break with fist. And Do means way, path, or method. Taekwondo is therefore loosely translated as way of the foot and the fist. As a sport, Taekwondo was introduced in Kenya in 1972 by Korean Grandmaster Mog Yoon. He came to train the military in the arts, but soon fell in love with the country and the young athletes.
We are first come to here to military teaching Taekwondo. About now more than 41 years here.
Taekwondo spread from the military to civilians, and a new generation of athletes was born. The dream and desire carried by these young athletes did not just come. It was planted in their hearts and minds by a most unique, passionate coach, George Muriu. George Muriu is Kenya's most successful Taekwondo coach, having led Kenyan athletes to win the African Taekwondo Championships, and for the first time in East and Central Africa, took 2 athletes to compete in the Olympics in Beijing in the year 2008. In this footage from 2007, as George prepares his team for the Olympic qualifiers, he exudes confidence.
Chance yetu ya qualify ni mtu akuje between number 1 to 20 asha qualify kwa Olympics, na kwa wale wachezaji tuko nao kwa level yao wako hiyo level, so chance yetu ya qualify iko very high.
By the time of his death in 2012, George Muriu was an accomplished Taekwondo athlete, coach, and referee, known and respected by the world's Taekwondo fraternity. His story, from his humble beginnings to his rise to become one of Africa's most respected athletes, is still an inspiration to many in the athletics community. But what made George be such a man of steel? How did George himself get into Taekwondo? George Muriu was born a hustler. He sold household goods and engaged in petty crime. One day, he stole from someone who beat him thoroughly. He had never lost a street fight and wanted to find out how this man beat him.
Kuingia forces ndio nikaanza, at least it was martial arts. Ndio tukakuja tukaintroduce Taekwondo, Nairobi, na my chief instructor alikuwa anaitwa Muro. Muro ndio alileta Taekwondo Kenya. Sasa ndio nika-join AP. AP nikakuwa instructor wa physical fitness and Taekwondo. Nikaanza kufunza watu wale wa street. Sasa hapo ndio nikakutana na George Muriu. George Muriu alikuwa snatch a necklace, but it was not really gold. Lakini sasa ndio nilifukuzana na yeye, nikamshika, nikampa discipline kidogo, alafu nikamuuliza shida ni nini. Nilikuja akanijibu hana kitu ya kukula, lakini ndio nilimuuliza kama aweza kataka change that life, adapt another new life.
All of them used to be street kids, as was the school's founding father, George Muriu, until a stranger changed his life.
Wa realized the talent yako etago Bernard Mavenge.
Ben Mavenge was the man who changed my life. He came to the streets where I was hanging out, and I made fun of him. So to teach me a lesson, he beat me up. I was very disturbed because I thought no one could beat me. That is what most thugs think. When I saw him again, he told me that he does Taekwondo and that he can teach me. But when I started Taekwondo, I really changed. My bad manners has changed, and I have a future because Taekwondo teaches you discipline, and that is something you need in life.
1, 2, 3, and 4. Now slowly, up.
Carol Wairimu and George Muriu met when he had just been introduced to the sport. She remembers this encounter vividly.
My name is Carol Wairimu Kihurani. I'm a third dan black belt. I started Taekwondo way back in the late 80s. Muro was training elsewhere in Waithaka. He joined the ladies team. And I remember the first week was now one-on-one session sparring. Something he kept on. He told me all over the years that I gave him a falling kick on the chest. Then he was a blue belt. So when we were sparring, he was very fat, but fit, fat, strong, with a very strong will. Training was so intense. We were not molded in a day. It was not on a silver platter. He worked very hard. For him, Taekwondo was life. He looked at the sport and he knew he could make it.
By joining the Taekwondo family, George Muriu had found his way out of the streets. He was now driven by a strong desire to succeed and be recognized and appreciated, and felt he could achieve this through Taekwondo.
My first meeting with George, I met him in 1991 when he was a player. He was playing heavyweight. Then I just come in as an officer in charge of Taekwondo in the military. I had come with my team to participate in the then UNAFRIC place, and he was playing one of my players. The spirit that he had while playing, he wanted to win. And those are the characteristics and the trait that captures you. Because apart from playing, when he was seconding other players, you could see him giving instructions to the other players. So this is a person that you quickly realize that he can be a good implementer, a leader. His education was not so high, but he is a person who wanted to learn.
George's commitment and passion grew so much that the Grandmaster, Mo Gyun, who had set up a brand new gym, handed over the gym to George.
He is growing up very fast. In Kenya, is #1. I hand over this gymnasium. I give it to run free. Then behind the support, financial support, medicine support.
George had now set his eyes on becoming the country's national team coach, but he was not getting the chance. So he set up his own Taekwondo team by choosing kids from the streets and rehabilitating them. Amongst the new talent that George discovered was Milka Akinyi and Dixon Wamwere.
Katika selection ya kwanza national team yenye niliattend ndo tulikutana na coach George Muriu. Hapo ndo alianza kunijulia hapo.
Milka Akinyi grew up in a tough neighborhood in Mombasa, Kenya's second largest city and the main port on the Indian Ocean.
Nilianza taekwondo mwaka wa 2004. Wakati huo nilikuwa nikisoma shule ya msingi ya Kongoea Primary. Sasa alikuja kudemonstrate hiyo mchezo katika shule yetu. Nikangoja nione venye wanavyofanya zoezi kwanza, nikasikia nimevutiwa na mimi. Siku ya pili sasa ndo nikaamua na mimi nianze mazoezi. Kilichonivutia zaidi nilifanya niingie katika taekwondo, hiyo mchezo wa taekwondo. Unajua mtaa yenye nilikuwa nikikaa ilikuwa ni mtaa ingine mbaya sana, ilikuwa imejaa wauni. Na wafutaji bangi yani walikuwa wengi sana. So hata nilikuwa nikitumwa na mama mahali fulani nilikuwa naogopa tu. Sasa hiyo mchezo niliona kama inaweza nisaidia katika self defense. Kungangana nao majumpers. Sasa ndo nilipoiona hivyo nikasema hii mchezo ni lazima nicheze. Hiyo mtaa ilikuwa ni mbaya, serious, ulikuwa huwezi pita wewe dem. So kama nimetoka skuli, mimi nilikuwa naeka tu bag, hakuna hata homework yenye nilikuwa nikifanya. Naeka tu bag chini, naanza tu road zangu mpaka club yenye tunatrainia, kurudi yenyewe ni saa 3 usiku. Unajua yeye akiwa katika tournaments huwa anaangalia yule mchezaji mwenye ana ile kipawa cha kucheza. So akiona wewe una ile kipawa ya kucheza, kuna venye atakuchukulia na ataitia maanani katika hiyo spirit yako itimie. Hapo ndo tulikutana naye, sasa ndio akasema lazima mimi ni attend hizo mchezo.
For Dixon, his meeting with George was different. He grew up in the streets of Waithaka, a little town on the outskirts of Nairobi, the Kenyan capital city.
Taekwondo, I started back then in 1999, September 28. That was, I was in class 8. As in on my way home, then I had, as in, because we have city council social hall, so then nikapata they are training taekwondo, which as in I got interested. Kujoin gym nilipata Moses Muturi, he was the captain by then. George nilimpata back in 1999 after training with Moses. He used to give, as in call Moses, giving him advice and everything, as in come, we meet, do this, train them this, train them this. So he used to do that, and I come, anaangalia, tupigisha tizi nini.
Now Muro has become a coach. And he had this, the GTA, the George Taekwondo Academy, where he had a group of young boys and girls whom he was helping. And so we would meet in tournaments. And as me as an official, he has brought his team.
George, as I say, as in he gave me everything. Love, taekwondo, kujitolea, and everything, as in akuwa hapo, as in he's there for us. As in he's like a father. Not even a coach now, like a father.
Mary grew up as daughter of a dedicated sportsman. To her, George was more than simply a loving and compassionate dad. Together with her sister, Maureen, they had a completely different experience with the coach.
My name is George Muriu. Muriu is my dad. I'm 17 years. I'm in grade 3, that is Form 3. About my dad, he introduced me Taekwondo when I was 9 years. When he told me that this Taekwondo is all about discipline, things like those, I started doing it when I was 14 years, seriously, until now. We are told that a good child is a child that eats. She eats a lot. I like her by eating. She likes talking, giving me stories when I'm sad, things like that. Yeah.
I got to Taekwondo through my dad, George Muriu. He introduced Taekwondo to me in 2002 until now. And the thing I like about Taekwondo, mostly it's about self-defense and fitness and even health.
George alinitrainisha na moyo wake wote, akijua na mimi naweza. Na mimi pia nilipoona bidii ya George, na mimi pia nikajitolea kabisa.
George mind hata hapa mtatrain tu. As long as anajua hapa unajua ukitupateke you can fit. It doesn't matter, as in he doesn't mind. Hata kwake tumeshatrain hata kwa nyumba. Anatoa la stongesha na toa meza na fanya nini trainieni hapo.
No payment was being done to him. People, he used to feed people there in his own academy, free of charge, because he had a vision. The driving force in George was the anger to achieve. George was a small man, he was just a coach. And he was also looking at winning, because if he doesn't win, his reputation as a coach will go down. We went to the All-African Games with him. I think that is where the whole episode started. We did so poorly, and when you hear other national anthem being sung in a forum like that one, and you cannot hear our Kenyan national anthem, you feel like you're crying. I told him, George, now, look at the performance. We have not had a single national anthem of Kenya. And I could see he was touched. Do you want us to continue like this? Let's go back home and change the whole setup.
George took the dismal performance at the All-African Games as a challenge. He managed to secure a trip to Korea to train to be a professional coach with the aim of taking his team to the next All-African Games. But this time, to win. George's trip to South Korea was a game changer for him. He learned modern coaching techniques and excelled in numerous championships while there.
He took off at an alarming speed and excelled beyond us. He went, never looked back. He never afraid to step on anyone's toes, anyone's back. He came back with more knowledge. And when we saw him coaching, we said, okay, this guy is okay. We gave him our blessings.
So when he came back, what did we do? One, we started the youth championship. We started in 2004. We started going around the country carrying out seminars. He was the technical man, I was the policy maker, and he was executing to the letter. Yeah? And the number of frequency of games we are playing every week, from this game, we go to this game, from this game, monitoring those players coming up, very young.
In the national arena, Georgia's students stood out at the National Olympic Team selection. Their success took him even higher. He finally became Kenya's national team coach.
So after selection, I remember I won gold medal, Moses won. We were like five guys from one team, that is KTA. By then alikuwa anaita just Taekwondo Academy, tulikuwa watu watano. And rules inasema, if you have your 3 students in the team, you have to be the national coach. Aje unajua pia na ukiangalia iko na kama hujaifundisha sasa na ujui hao utawafundisha aje. Alaka kwa hivyo hakuwa progressive game zote amekuwa akienda hivyo tu akiwa national coach.
Hapo kulikuwa na Olympic qualifiers ilikuwa inaenda Libya. George alinitrainisha na moyo wake wote akijua na mimi naweza. Na mimi pia nilipoona bidii ya George na mimi pia nikajitolea kabisa. So safari ilipofika tukaenda Libya.
From his team, 2 athletes, Dixon and Milka, made it to the Olympic qualifiers in Algiers, but it wasn't easy.
Tulifight. Tukafight mpaka raundi ya 3 na huyo Morocco tukawa draw. Sasa mkiwa draw huwa kuna kitu inaitwa Beijing. Beijing ni ile mnaingia alafu wa kwanza kupata point. Ukipiga tu moja tayari wewe ni mshindi. Ile tumeambiwa tu fight. Nilishukia tu yani nimekuwa wa kwanza yani kupata hiyo point. Na game ikaisha hivyo. Hapo ndo nilikualify Olympic na gold.
My tough fight, I would say, it was against Tamar Bayumi. He was Olympic bronze medalist. Actually, I would say he's the best in Africa. Olympics, they wanted us in position 1 and 2. If you're that position, you ain't going. So I had to do my best, for me to qualify. I remember even my coach cried because I was injured and I couldn't play. But he begged me and said, if you qualify for the Olympics, I'll never train anybody again. I'll just hang up my uniform and say, now I'll just be sitting down and watching my players. So after that, I had to give up myself because my coach has told me, and I've been with him like for 10 years now, let me give up for myself and put my best foot forward and do my thing. That is it. We fought and I won.
And for the first time, the national anthem was sung, and I could see George crying. So we sang it from our heart. E Mungu nguvu yetu ilete, haki iwe ngao na mlinzi. It comes out. We are telling these Africans that we are here, we have come. That was a big achievement.
After the qualifiers, George took the 2 athletes to fight and win in France, Korea, and Spain. They were now ready for the Olympics. Everything looked really good until tragedy struck.
When we were supposed to leave on that week, my mom passed. So I didn't have to go. I had to wait back preparing for everything and the burial, then go to the Olympics. I'll say my mom passing affected me a lot because I couldn't perform in Olympics and everything because I was still thinking about my mom and everything. And from a single mother, I didn't have a dad and everything. My mom supported me a lot through Taekwondo because I can remember when I was living in her house, if they come to wake me up 4, we have to go jogging and everything, I don't want to go. I'll tell her maybe at night, kesho wakikam, usiniamshe waambie mimi siskip or anything. But when they come, he'll wake me up, he'll say that. So after she passed, I felt bad because I wanted her to see me in Olympics. She knew that I was going, but she was not there when I was going.
But nilipofika huko kidogo weight ilipanda, nikakuwa 57. Sasa 57, nilifika huko nikiwa 57 surely. Hapo nilicheza ile yangu yote yenye nilifundishwa na George, ile yangu yote. Na sijakula for 19 days. Nilikuwa nikikunywa tu maji, nakula ka apple, maji, ka apple bas. So nilikuwa hata sina ile nguvu sana, yani ile yenye ukikutana mwenye anapaa, nilikuwa sina sana. But nilifanya ile yangu yote, tukaenda draw na odem. Sasa ikakuja ile wa kwanza kuscore Beijing. Odem maze. Nilipoingia hivi, sija steady vizuri, nimewaiwa, yani kaisha tu hivyo. Yani nilimiss tu your bronze hivyo. But nilicheza vizuri, nilikuwa watano katika dunia nzima.
All due respect to Mildred Alango, she did make a good effort of the match, but Wu Jingyu was just too technically proficient for her.
In the Olympics, unfortunately, the two athletes lost, and George and his students returned to Kenya with no win, but with bags of experience.